Hi guys and welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, I am Pip and I do videos on wellness, lifestyle and faith. Today I will be talking about the books I have read in 2020. So without further ado, let's get into the video. So I have actually read a fair few books in the first 3 or 4 months of this year. So I'm not going to share all of them, I'm just going to share the 5 that I have enjoyed the most or I think are quite interesting. So I have picked 5 of my list and I'll be sharing them with you today. So the first that I wanted to share with you is actually a series. So I guess it's more like 7 books all up, but I don't mind, I'll share more books with you. So the first book or books is the Darkest Minds series. So this is a trilogy written by Alexandra Bracken. I picked this up from the library when I first read it. I love them so much that I actually went and bought them. So I heard about this book from a friend at school and she was reading it and it sounded really interesting and something that I would be into. So I went and picked it up from the library and it turns out that I really enjoyed this series. It is really interesting because it isn't quite a teen love story, but it is a YA. So I found that it told a really nice story and it was really interesting and it was action-packed almost all the way through, so something was always happening, which was a nice change from the book that I read before this. I highly recommend these books and I think that it's a really good read for anyone from like 13 years old or even anywhere up to an adult because they're just so interesting and you can get a lot out of it. So I find the psychology behind books quite interesting. So that's kind of what I was picking up in these books and what I was looking for. So even though it is a YA, I found it super interesting looking for those little hidden details. So I would rate the Darkest Minds series almost a 4.7 out of 5. I wouldn't rate it a full 5 out of 5 because I don't know if I've read a book that's 5 out of 5, so there's nothing to compare to, but this is a really good series and I really enjoyed it. So the book that I actually read before The Darkest Minds was Little Women. So I actually read this after I watched the new movie that came out, and I watched the movie in the summer holidays, so later in January before we went back to school, and I really enjoyed the movie, so I would highly recommend that. And I had got this book a few months before for my birthday, so I was kind of hooked on the movie and I was hoping that the book would be the same. So Little Women is written by Louisa May Alcott and I actually really enjoyed this as a classic. So it is classified as a classic because it was written in that time, but it doesn't really read like a classic. It's not that old English and it's not very difficult to read. I found it quite easy to follow and easy to go along with it. So that I really liked that book for that reason, because I do find classics a bit harder to read because of that older English and that kind of barrier between. I enjoyed this book immensely. I did find that the movie added bits on, which is understandable because it is a movie, but I kind of would recommend read the book first before you watch the movie, so you're not looking for those add-on bits in the book like I was. I would rate Little Women about a 4 out of 5, mainly because it is kind of not kind of book that I would reach for really, but I did enjoy it as a classic. It was just a good read. So the next book that I read was Billy and Me, and I really enjoyed this book. I didn't think I was going to because I'm not really into romance books, but it wasn't really romancy. So it was based on a romance and I do get that, but it wasn't really romance all the time. So it commented on a lot of different issues that we all deal with. And for that, I actually really enjoyed it. It had a little bit of psychological stuff in there, but I guess you can pick that up in any book. I just picked this copy up from my local Vinnie's for $2. So they're pretty much in most places, in most stores, but I would recommend this book, and I would rate this book about a 3.5 out of 5. It was enjoyable, but it just really wasn't my kind of read. So the next book that I have read is kind of ironic in a way, and it's Pandemic, which is of the Extinction Files, from A.J. Riddle. So I picked this up before pretty much everything started with our own pandemic. I just got this from my local library because it looked interesting, and I was looking for a book similar to The Darkest Minds with that disease and psychology kind of thing. And I would definitely describe this book as a kind of medical Jason Bourne kind of thing. I quite like the whole Jason Bourne idea, so this book is kind of perfect for me, and I've been really enjoying it because I enjoy medical talk and understanding how that process works. So it was a really good read for me. I would rate that about a 4 out of 5. No reason in particular, it was just a good book, and I wouldn't classify it as fantastic, but it was a really good read. And the last book that I will be sharing that I have read is actually The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe by C.S. Lewis. So I actually did not read this as a child, and I don't remember if it was read to me. I do not remember it being read to me, but my mom was telling me that it is a really nice read and it would be a good book to finally read. I have never really seen anything to do with this book. I'm halfway through at the moment, so I'll probably finish that soon. And I got this copy actually from my uncle, and he has the whole series, and it is probably my favourite cover of the books, and I really am enjoying this so far. But it is, of course, a book aimed towards younger people, so it's a pretty easy read, and I like the illustrations in it. They're kind of cool, and I'm really, at the moment, I would rate this about a 3.5, 4 out of 5, mainly because at the moment it's a tiny bit boring, but that's okay. I'm happy to read this. They're my 5 books that I have been reading in 2020 that I wanted to share with you, and I hope you enjoyed this. Hopefully got some ideas of some books that you can read. I hope that you are doing some reading in isolation too, and you're finding some books that you really enjoy. I'm sure that people that have a Kindle would find it much easier to find books because you don't have to order them, you just have to buy them online. I do not have a Kindle, so I have been forced to read the books on my bookshelf that I have not gotten around to. So give this video a thumbs up and comment down below a book that you are reading or have read in this quarantine period. I would love to have some more suggestions. Don't forget to subscribe and hit the little bell button so you are notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you guys next time. See you!